Last October, I had the pleasure of attending my first Park City Wine Festival in beautiful Park City, Utah. It was such a fun event and a great way to get to know the local food scene and be introduced to stellar wines and some spirits from around the country. Lucky for food and wine lovers like me, there are two chances each year to partake since the Park City Wine Festival Spring Edition is coming up April 9th through 11th, 2026. This is a special podcast episode today doing double duty, combining the In Good Taste Denver podcast with the Real Food Traveler podcast, and my guest, Kirsten Slater, who's the event director of the Park City Wine Festival and also CEO and co-owner of Team Player Productions. And I'm Courtney Drake McDonough, the publisher of the InGoodTasteDenver.com blog and the RealFoodTraveler.com digital magazine and host of this joint podcast. Kristen, welcome back and welcome to this special episode we're doing for spring.
Thank you so much for having me again, Courtney.
Yeah, I'm glad we get to talk again. We're doing this combined podcast because whether you're one state over from Utah, like I am in Colorado, or you live anywhere else in the country, attending the Park City Wine Festival Spring Edition is an easy flight or a doable drive. And Park City, Utah is gorgeous and fun, which we'll talk about, making this the perfect destination event. So, Kristen, let's talk about the upcoming festival. First of all, what is the Park City Wine Festival Spring Edition about, and what are some of the events that comprise it since it's over the course of several days in April?
Absolutely. So the festival itself is April 9th through 11th. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of that weekend. We have 8 total events. Some are more intimate paired wine dinners or lunches, and some are your more traditional grand tasting with walkabout tastings with food and wine, live music, etc. So we have 8 total events this year that we're really excited about.
Okay, wonderful. Most wine or wine and food festivals happen once a year, and you're super ambitious doing two. So tell us why you organize two and what the main differences are between them.
Absolutely. We love working in Park City. It's just such a gorgeous location. If you've been there before, it's, really is a destination year round. And we're lucky enough to get to highlight it twice in one year, in April and in October. The biggest difference, if you've been to the fall festival before, the biggest difference for spring is we are really highlighting those spring and on mountain activities that we can't do in the fall when the lifts and some of those elements are closed. So rather than like a hike that you might go on with a winemaker that's followed by a paired lunch, we have a snowshoe adventure that we're real excited about. So you can go snowshoeing and then come back to a paired lunch, get all toasty and warm. We do have different producers. Some of them aren't able to attend in the fall due to just their production, and sometimes crush lands a little bit late or something. So we definitely have different producers, different offerings from the wine side. One of my other favorite pieces is the hot cocktails. Most of our spirits purveyors are doing hot cocktails to kind of warm everyone up, and they've come up with some really creative offerings in the past.
Oh, this sounds so fun. How many years have the two festivals been going on?
So the fall event has been happening for 7 years, since 2019, and this is the second annual Spring Park City Wine Festival.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you've attended one, what would you say are the main benefits of attending the other season's version?
Yeah, it's definitely a different feel in the spring with the snow and being able to ski. Definitely if you're a skier, this is an awesome experience. You can get laps in the morning and then come back to a full-fledged food and wine festival in the afternoon. If you have attended the fall one in the past, it is a different venue. So this one's hosted at the Pendry Park City in the Plaza area rather than the Canyons Village. So it's definitely a different feel, different producers, different restaurants that are participating. So even though they are both in Park City, they definitely do feel like two completely different events.
Okay, all right. Doing two festivals in one year is a big undertaking, but the Park City Wine Festivals aren't the only ones you organize by a long shot. Your company's Colorado-based, Team Player Productions, and you're busy organizing events throughout the year. Can you tell our listeners what some of those events are?
Yeah, so we do similar events in Vail and Breckenridge, the Vail Wine Classic and the Breckenridge Wine Classic. Similarly, we also do the Vail Craft Beer Classic. So if you're a beer lover, that's definitely the one for you. So we kind of our business is split into two sides where we do these high-end all-inclusive food and wine events, but then we also focus on local street fairs. So Boulder Creek Fest is our biggest one in Colorado, the Tennyson Street Fair, Tennyson Fall Fest, Highland Street Fair. So those are really community rooted events highlighting local flavors, highlighting small businesses, really getting to like the roots of those communities, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, they're great events. So what made you go out of town to Park City for these festivals?
Yeah, it's another one that's really easy to get to from Denver. If you are local in Denver, it's a 1 hour flight and then a 1 hour drive up to from Salt Lake to Park City, which is awesome. In some cases, we'd like to joke it takes less time to get to Park City than it takes to get to Breckenridge, depending on the traffic on I-70. So it was very accessible. We had a lot of the same partners with Vail Resorts owning all of those properties. So it was an exciting way for us to be able to expand on partnerships we already had and another just knockout resort town.
So as I mentioned before, Park City, Utah really is a destination in itself and a wonderful place to have a festival. Tell us a little bit about the town and what some of the things are to do there.
Absolutely. So Park City has such a great history. Their Main Street is a little bit different from the Colorado mountain main streets. It's gorgeous there, as you would expect. The whole event is mountainside, but also the Main Street really is mountainside. Park City has such a huge ski resort that it wraps from the Canyons Village several miles to the Main Street area. So you could actually ski from one side to the other. And it's really like that's really unique that you can do that since they are so far apart. Also, their local food is incredible. So if you are a foodie, like this is definitely the place to be. We have some really incredible food and wine pairings planned for this year with our lunches and our dinners. So one of those that I'm really excited about is our French elegance dinner, and that's with La Depot Brasserie with our James Beard award-winning chef. And then Adelsheim Vineyard, who's they aren't a French winery, but they are showcasing their Burgundy style wines. And they've been named in the top 100 wineries of the year by Wine and Spirits magazine 7 times. So like they really are an incredible producer and one of the smaller, like maybe lesser known ones that you might not see all the time on your wine lists.
Wow. So the festivals you put on are events within events, and I'm exhausted just imagining what goes into planning them. I'm exhausted on behalf of you, especially since you're bringing in so many wineries and including local restaurants and chefs and all these different venues. Can you give us a sense of the time and effort that is involved in that goes into each one of the Park City festivals?
Absolutely. So we really start the following year at the close of the last one, basically. So that goes like not only for spring and fall, but we're really planning these things about a year in advance just to get on everyone's calendars, to get the venues, to get the permitting, all of those pieces. But one of my favorite things about these events is that we are really highlighting the local folks through the restaurants, through the nonprofits, and we want to make sure that those pieces really shine through at the event. So we want to make sure that we're bringing in those layers. So those pieces definitely take a lot of coordination. We have an exceptional wine team at Team Player Productions. They're working hard to get really exciting purveyors, both from the food and the wine side that, not only are exceptional at what they do, but that might be kind of off the beaten path a little bit. We don't want it to just be like huge name brand wineries. We're working hard to make sure that there's some really cool boutique and small producers that you might not see all the time.
Well, do you have any insider tips for how to maybe be more comfortable going or how to make the most of it? And I ask this because you do have things in different venues, some indoor, some outdoor. And like I was at the grand tasting last year and there'd been a lot of snow and rain right
That
before
was a
which
heartbreaker
wasn't
of a year
expected.
with the
And
rain for that one.
yeah, and I saw a lot of women in, cute little mini skirts and stilettos, and I saw people in hiking boots and jeans and you know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So what are some of the ways to to really just make the most of it and also be prepared for.
Absolutely. So you nailed it with some of the footwear, definitely. We are still in the mountains. We want to make sure that people are wearing layers, that they're wearing shoes that, maybe could get a little snow or mud on them, depending on the season. Personally, I like wearing flats just because I think, we're outdoors, but the one of the differences for the spring edition is that it is actually all on the Pendry Plaza, which is heated. So no mud, which is a huge plus. If you were at the fall Park City event, it rained for like 3 days straight. It was the most moisture they'd gotten in months. But anytime we're in the mountains, we want to make sure that we're wearing layers. Definitely checking the weather if it's going to snow. We do suggest gloves just because it's a little chilly. But also, I think just making sure that you're drinking water. We are at altitude, especially if you're coming from somewhere further away that might be at sea level. Park City is over 7,000 feet, so you want to make sure you're drinking a lot of water before you drink wine. One of my favorite tips for people is to start at the back of the event. Especially like when you go into the event, people like to go to the first winery that they see, but then it kind of gets a little bit bottlenecked and more crowded at the start. So my favorite thing to do is to beeline it for the back and work my way forward. Another thing I think just to note is letting the winemakers really lead your tasting. So if you know that you like reds versus whites, if you know that you like dry versus fruity, you don't have to have a lot of keywords. Like you don't necessarily need to know wine regions or really deep into wine varietals. The winemakers and reps that are there are really there to like guide your experience. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is just to let them really showcase what their portfolio is. Most of them are bringing between 4 and 8 different wines. So you can taste through several, you can go to each one and try one. There's a lot of choose your own adventure happening at the Wine Fest.
Okay. I took your advice in the fall and I did make a beeline for the back at the grand tasting.
Oh,
And
good.
that was a fabulous tip. That worked beautifully because I don't think at any point I had to wait in line very long for anything because
And there's so many booths and offerings for people. So there really isn't a need to wait in line. People just get excited and they go to the first restaurant that they see. And so inevitably that one has a line,
yeah,
even though the rest are just waiting to feed you.
right, right. And that also left more time for me to stand and listen to the music too, because I
Yes,
didn't spend all my time waiting in lines, I had toured
exactly. We have
around,
some
gotten a taste
fabulous
of everything.
bands at the
Yeah, it
events.
was great. Um, so let's go over how people can learn more about the Park City Wine Festival Spring Edition, including purchasing tickets for the various events they might be interested in attending.
Yeah, so all 8 of the events are a la carte. So you can again choose your own adventure. So if you wanted to do a Thursday wine dinner, a Friday wine lunch, and then the grain tasting on Saturday, we recommend kind of picking one event per day, just because they are all inclusive and end up being quite a bit of drinking. It can be hard to keep up if you're doing multiple events in a day, but everyone's up for a little challenge. Another event that we haven't touched on yet is our Opera Paired Park City, which is new this year, which is similar to the grand tasting, that it will be outdoors. It will be food and wine, a walkabout tasting, but each bite is going to be paired with 2 different wines or spirits, which is really exciting. So focusing on the pairing element, really leaning into the opera atmosphere that is Park City. So that will be really exciting. We'll have a DJ, we'll have a costume contest. So a little bit more of a happy hour feel, if you will.
Cool. You have been very generous in providing us with a $10 off for any of the grand tasting tickets on Saturday, April 11th. And so to get that, people can either use the phrase "in good taste," one word, or "real food traveler," also one word, at checkout on the website. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. So thank you for offering that again to our readers and listeners. I know they
Absolutely.
love to take advantage of that. How
And that
about
code,
social?
we've updated that code so that it's good for our paired event and any of the lunches or dinners as well. So I want to
Oh,
make sure that you guys can take full advantage of all the
oh,
experiences.
thank you so much. That's awesome. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
I'll be sure to update our article to include that. And you have really fun social media posts. I've really enjoyed watching them, keeping
Oh,
up with them.
thank you.
Um, so not only are they informative, but they are entertaining. So tell people, including the actual handles, where they can go on social media to get the most up-to-date information.
Yes, we are on Facebook and Instagram as Park City Wine Festival.
Okay, easy enough. So, as always, with both the In Good Taste Denver podcast and the Real Food Traveler podcast, we put an associated article on our sites that literally includes a little player that you can click on to listen to this episode, as well as seeing some tantalizing photos of the event and links to everything that we've been talking about today. All of our episodes of our podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon, and just about anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. So, Kristen, thank you so much for joining me for another podcast and for giving us a scoop on your fabulous spring festival. And if last October is any indication, Park City Wine Festival Spring Edition is going to be fabulous as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Courtney.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, both for the In Good Taste Denver podcast and the Real Food Traveler podcast, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.